The movie opens with a strange creature narrating a story of greatness and wisdom. A long, long time ago, a massive war broke out between humans and trolls. Even though some kind trolls were on mankind's side, the evil trolls just wanted to watch the world burn. That's when Merlin, a mighty wizard, forged a powerful amulet. This amulet was strong enough to end the war and bring the world to peace again. Soon, years passed by, and all the trolls went into hiding. They all settled in Arcadia Oaks, a mysterious town that appears to be ordinary on the surface. However, it contains the intersection of all magical and extraterrestrial lines, making it a hamlet for many battles between trolls, aliens, wizards, and a variety of otherworldly creatures. Despite the fact that the battle ended centuries ago, evil never left. They continued to hide in the shadows and wage wars against mankind. Because of this, the magical amulet was passed from one troll hunter to another. In order to maintain peace and prosperity, the hunters are required to take on the responsibility of eliminating any and every kind of danger from the world. With the evil trolls still around and more bloodthirsty than ever, the troll hunters must fight and defeat them with the help of Merlin's amulet. During one of such crucial times, an extraordinary troll hunter was eliminated in battle by a ruthless troll. After his passing, for the first time since its creation, the amulet called for a human to take on the mantle of Troll Hunter. As the movie progresses, we come to find out that the main protagonist of this movie is a young boy named Jim Lake Jr. He is an ordinary kid with a busy mom and a yearning to have more adventure in life. Together with his family, Jim is in a small lake house, which happens to be located at Arcadia Oaks. Jim has always wanted to go on adventures and hates living a regular life. However, much to his surprise, his wish gets granted when he finds a magic amulet under a bridge calling to him. This ordinary little boy ends up finding Merlin's magical amulet, which eventually chooses him to become a troll hunter. Soon enough, Jim transforms into a guardian who is supposed to defend the world of humans as well as the secret world of trolls. Finally, with this discovery, he gets recruited as the first ever human troll hunter. Together with his friend, Toby Domzalski, Jim discovers the world of Troll Market, where he begins his training under the guidance of his new mentors, Blinky and Arg. As time went on, Jim became more powerful and fought numerous villains with the help of his friends and the magic amulet. And although he saved Arcadia multiple times, he couldn't save himself. Unfortunately, Jim himself got possessed by dark magic, which ended up destroying the magic amulet. Now that the Troll Hunter amulet is gone, evil wizards known as the Arcane Order are out to destroy the world. These wizards happen to be supreme beings who are also the creators of the universe. Initially, they intended for Earth to be a paradise for all life to inhabit, and it was originally dedicated to protecting the balance between mankind and magic. But soon, they lost faith in humanity and thought that mankind was beyond correction. As a result, the Order decided to make up their own twisted version of the balance through magic kind. At present, the Arcane Order is set to overthrow humanity, no matter what it costs. Thankfully, one of the members of this order turned out to be good. But now, the other members of the Arcane Order are after her. They want something called the Genesis Seals, which will help them destroy the world once and for all. With such danger looming over humanity, the Troll Hunter must be prepared. But since the amulet is gone, Jim has no idea what to do. With every second that passes, the Arcane Order gets stronger. Moving on, the scene shifts to Master Wizard Dauxi Kasparin, his shape-shifting dragon called Archie, and former Arcane Order member Nari in a subway. Archie, who is in the form of a bird, looks around excitedly. Just then, the air changes and Dauxi gets tense. He wants to get off the train, but Nari stops him. She tells the wizard that she doesn't want to run anymore. It turns out that the two are trying to lure the other members of the Arcane Order toward them. Just as anticipated, they are soon ambushed by the arrival of Scrail and Belrock. These two are the evil members of the Arcane Order who want Nari back. Immediately, an intense fight breaks out. Right at that moment, Jim and his girlfriend, Claire, arrive on the scene. Together, they all start battling the Arcane Order. While fighting, Archie flees the scene and gets to the front of the train. That's when Toby comes in as well and asks his fellow teammates to activate their anti-magic generator. When the train stops right above the generator, it will nullify all magic and put a stop to the evil wizards. However, this doesn't go according to plan, as Toby accidentally ends up breaking the train's levers. This ultimately causes the train to move faster and not slow down, as the other heroes had planned. Soon, the wizards start gaining on Jim and his friends. Eventually, Jim gets wounded in battle, and Claire starts fighting the Order on her own. Meanwhile, Toby's friends, Krell, Steve, and Stuart, continue to drive their van and land it underneath the train in order to get the generator to work. The generator only works for a mere second because that's when the train begins to go off track. Right then, Douxie uses his charm bracelet to create magical train tracks. But even after all this, Jim and his friends get overpowered by the Arcane Order. Ultimately, the train crashes right in the middle of the city. Everyone around them sees what's going on and is astonished. In order to threaten Jim into giving up Nari, Skrail starts attacking the ordinary citizens of Arcadia. Seeing as there's simply no way out, Douxie switches bodies with Nari and is taken by the Arcane Order. Back in the city, Claire and Toby are devastated to learn that Nari has been taken. However, that's when they learn that it's actually Douxie who has switched bodies with Nari and gone with the Arcane Order. Just when they think that the danger has been dealt with, Claire and all her friends get arrested. Several police officers try to get them to talk, but it's to no avail. Finally, in the end, Toby confesses to everything, but surprisingly, no one believes him. They think he's some kind of a lunatic. Just then, Krell and his robot, who happen to be disguised as FBI agents, come in. They try to get the captives out, but that's when the robot starts malfunctioning. When the police get suspicious, Arg and Nari break them all out. Ultimately, they flee in a getaway van. Meanwhile, back in the newly rebuilt Camelot, Jim starts recovering from his wounds. When he wakes up, his mother immediately tends to him and asks him to relax. However, Jim feels as though he has failed. Now that he doesn't have the amulet anymore, he is unsure whether or not he will be able to defeat the Arcane Order. Just then, Claire comes up to him. She tells him all about Douxie and Nari switching bodies. Since the spell won't last long, Blinky and Krell try their hardest to find a way out. Right at that moment, Krell finds out that his sister, Aja Terran, and Pepperjack have arrived at Camelot from a Caridian 5. Steve, who is madly in love with Aja, instantly runs up to her and kisses her for the 7th time. However, that's when Aja reveals that their 7th kiss is supposed to make babies. It turns out that their 7th child has now led to Steve getting pregnant. All of the heroes then gather around the round table to discuss the Arcane Order. Once all the heroes have settled in, Blinky claims that the Order has now sought to reawaken the Titans and combine the beings in the center of the universe. This will ultimately make the Earth reborn and go back to its first creation. When Claire asks where the center of the universe is, Blinky reveals that it is none other than Arcadia. Elsewhere, the Arcane Order gets ready to perform their ancient ritual, which will eventually free the Titans. However, when nothing happens, Skrail and Belrock find out that Douxie has indeed switched places with Nari. In order to get Nari back, the wizards use their magic to revert her and Douxie back to their normal bodies. Just before being reverted, Nari informs Jim that the Trollhunter must make the 9th configuration, and then the Chronosphere will make it right. Everyone is perplexed by what this means. Confused, Stuart asks Jim about it since he's the Trollhunter. Sadly, Jim claims that he doesn't know either since he doesn't have the amulet anymore. However, that's when Krell tells him that he's still the Trollhunter and hands him back the magical amulet. Much to his surprise, the amulet had been fixed and improved in numerous ways. Now more confident than ever, Jim and the others manage to locate Nari. They then enter a roundhouse where Douxie had previously been taken prisoner. When the heroes finally reach Nari, they discover that the Arcane Order is already preparing for the ritual. While the heroes try their best effort to destroy the Genesis seals, Jim tries to unlock his new and improved amulet. Unfortunately, the amulet fails and the ritual is completed. As a result, each member of the Arcane Order gets to control one Titan each from Greenland, Brazil, and the South China Sea, respectively. Back at the Camelot, the heroes see that the Titans are now fully released. They begin making a plan to defeat the Order. While discussing their strategies, Aja suggests they evacuate Earth. This simple suggestion turns into a huge debate, which makes Jim feel even more like a loser. Having had enough, he asks everyone present to trust him. Once everyone agrees, Jim asks Stuart, Krell, and Pepperjack to get the stone from Excalibur's hilt for his new amulet. Only with the aid of Excalibur will the amulet work like before. Moving forward, Jim asks Claire to lead a team in search of the Chronosphere, which happens to be in the hands of Zhongxi, the leader of the Troll Dragons. Meanwhile, the rest of the heroes try their best to defeat the Titans. The plan finally starts with Claire, Blinky, Archie, and his father, Mr. Charlemagne, traveling to Hong Kong in search of Zhongxi. However, when they reach there, the team gets attacked by the Chinese authorities. Unfortunately, Blinky gets injured in the process, but they all somehow manage to reach the Troll Dragons. Just as they're walking past the Troll Market, they all get caught by the guard trolls. Elsewhere, all the other heroes are busy fighting the colossal Titans. Even after putting in all their effort, they can't seem to stop the massive creatures. Sadly, Stricklander and Nomura get eliminated in their battles against Nari and Skrail. Since the Titans are impossible to destroy, Jim's team travels to Hong Kong after receiving no contact from Claire's team. On the other hand, Claire and her team get taken to Zhongxi, who mocks them for being so dumb. Enraged, Charlemagne starts attacking the guards, and a huge fight breaks out. Archie then takes this opportunity to steal the chronosphere. Now that they've got the artifact, the team runs out and flees the scene. On the other hand, while on their way to the troll market, Jim's team discovers that Belrock's Titan is approaching a bridge. All the citizens of the place appear to be extremely scared. Panicking, Toby asks Jim to do something, but there's absolutely nothing he can do against the evil wizard. Just then, Barvado's Vex arrives in a mecha suit designed by Ali. However, Belrock easily destroys the suit. Thankfully, Barvado somehow manages to flee to safety. He then takes Aja and runs away, while Jim and Toby look around for Claire. The two eventually rescue Claire's team and escape the troll market, but Jim burns his right hand in the process. Since there are still a lot of trolls after them, both Charlemagne and Archie stay behind and fend them off. The indestructible Titans continue on their way to Arcadia while the heroes reunite for their final plan. Now that they have the chronosphere, the team has to find out its real purpose. Since only Nari knows exactly what to do, Dauxi suggests that he talk to her. Jim agrees with him, and so all the heroes reach Nari and her Titan. Once there, Dauxi manages to get inside Nari's head, unlocking her free will. Now fully conscious, Nari and the rest of the team think of ways to stop the other Titans. That's when Claire opens a portal big enough to send Nari towards Skrail. The two Titans come face to face with one another and a battle begins. They fight until their last breaths and only stop after completely destroying each other. Soon after, the heroes discover that Belrock's Titan is still not destroyed by Skrail. It turns out that it is still marching toward Arcadia Oaks. The heroes are confused by this, but that's when they realize that Blinky had missed a page. The page says that even if one of the orders succeeds, that one can unite with a Heartstone and create a new world. The Earth will be reborn from the element that the Order member wields. Seeing as they still have to defeat Belrock, the heroes meet up in Arcadia Oaks. There, they see that all of the citizens have been forced to evacuate. While Belrock heads towards Arcadia at full speed, Krell and his team reach Jim with the Excalibur. Unfortunately, Jim fails to lift Excalibur off of the stone. Everyone is disheartened to see this. However, just then, Jim realizes that the 9th configuration is meant to represent him and his friends. As his friends place their hands on the stone and surround him, Jim ultimately pulls Excalibur off of the stone. He then sends Stuart off to replace the new amulet stone with the Excaliburs. In the meantime, all of the heroes struggle to defeat Belrock in an epic battle. While battling the enormous Titan, Jim realizes that the amulet never made him a hero. He already was one. While the Heartstone gets closer and closer to Belrock, the new amulet manages to come toward Jim. Just when everything seems to be going wrong, the amulet attaches itself to Jim. Now in a magnificent new armor, Jim faces off against Belrock in an epic spar. Meanwhile, Toby rushes his truck, which happens to be carrying the anti-magic generator, towards Belrock. He then uses it to stop Belrock from using their magic, which ultimately gives Jim the opportunity to eliminate Belrock with the Excalibur. This finally causes their Titan to fall to the ground. As the heroes celebrate their victory, Steve also gives birth to 7 babies. However, Toby is nowhere in sight. Scared, Jim rushes around to search for him. Sadly, Jim sees that Toby has been crushed by the debris of the fallen Titan. Toby then takes his last breath, leaving all of the heroes devastated. Afterward, Jim realizes that the chronosphere was never meant to stop the Titans, but to prevent most of the tragedy from happening. He immediately slashes the sphere, which reveals the precious time stone within it. If he uses the stone, only he will remember what really happened. In the end, Jim decides to go back in time. He bids his last goodbye to everyone before his consciousness and memories travel back to the very same morning where he found the amulet and resurrects his fallen friends, including Toby. After realizing his friend's worthiness as a hero, Jim decides to allow Toby to take over the mantle of Trollhunter and use his knowledge of the future to ensure a better outcome for himself and his friends.